I am Jeff Foxworthy, and welcome to Gamekeeper Podcast. If you want to learn more about farming for wildlife and habitat management, then, buddy, you are in the right place. Join the Gamekeeper crew direct from Mossy Oak Land Enhancement Studio as they discuss the latest wildlife and habitat management practices, news, and, of course, hunting. There's no telling what you'll learn, but I'm going to tell you, I bet it's interesting. Enjoy.
We're live in 3, 2, 1.
Oh, Lanny.
Look, this is cool. I'm going to go on and tell you.
It really is. So, guys.
I'm so jealous.
Guys, look, we've got, let me just go ahead and introduce him right out of the gate. We've got Jeremy Johnson. Okay, let me start all over.
You literally just said
We've got Jeremy Jones from Jones Falconry, North Alabama. Sitting, I'm just so excited to get.
You are excited. You messed the name up right out the gate. That's
yep,
right.
Yep. So
and his buddies.
Well, we do. This is just so cool. We got
Ruben.
we got a kestrel and we've got some type of hawk. We'll get Jeremy to explain all this to us. Toxie's here. He's going to have to leave, so we're going to get started. Lanny.
I'm here.
Yeah, hope you don't have to leave, but I think you
I'm
are.
going to have to leave.
Guys, we have Dudley is joining us today. He will have a lot of questions.
He will not have to leave.
I didn't ask a single question at lunch because I didn't want to ruin all of them.
Yeah.
I'm a wet-hot sportsman after wild game.
Yeah, that's Dudley right there. So
I didn't realize that was actually Dudley's voice.
it is, yeah.
Back in the day, he recorded that for them.
So we've got a full crew. We got Mike and Rob's on the floor taking pictures. Richie's on the board.
Rob's always on the floor taking pictures or hanging from the ceiling taking pictures.
He's always taking pictures,
Yes,
that's for
he is.
sure.
But Jeremy, we're just real excited to have you.
Thank y'all for having me.
You got some handsome birds there.
Thank you.
Look how cool Ruben is sitting there.
This one's got a
He got a personality, doesn't he?
yeah, but he's keeping an eye on me. It kind of making me nervous.
Came in
Something
late.
tells me this little guy's a bad guy, a bad dude.
I don't know. He is handsome, though. I'll tell you that. He is beautiful. So, look, I'm going to go throw out the first question. How did falconry get started? I mean, when I did some research, it looks like it goes back thousands of years.
Yeah, there's a lot of different answers on that. I don't want to lie to you. I know there were pictures of falcons on pyramids, so you can take that and do what you want with it. Here in the U.S., around the 60s, got started. But yeah, man, it can go back as far as you can look. It's always been, like I said, a hunting sport, so a way to provide food, just like everything else. But it's definitely a thing that's passed down. It's not anything that you just pick up and learn how to do. You got to have somebody pass it on to you, just like hunting is. So
It's got to be highly regulated.
very, very. So there's all federal regulations and then state regulations. So within the state, you can add to the federal regulations, but you cannot take from the federal regulations. So there's when you sign up for it, you're signing up for a federal and state game warden to show up at your door unannounced anytime they want. So pretty regulated.
They can do that anyway. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that would take Lanny out of it.
What? That takes Bobby out of it.
Wait a minute. I thought they took Dudley out of it.
Yeah, I mean, what is up?
So, these birds of prey, these raptors, they're so highly protected. I'm just shocked that there's a program that allows people to have one to hunt with, like what you're doing. Can you kind of help me understand that?
Yeah, for sure. Main thing is they're so protected. They're part of the Migratory Bird Act. You're not able to just take one and have it. Possession of a hawk feather is even illegal. So the way they do this, it's regulated in the way that most of your birds of prey don't live to be a year old. About 80% die off, whether it be from starvation. A big problem is rodenticide. So you use rat poison at your house, rat runs off in the woods, looks like an easy kill for the bird. Next thing you know, no more bird. We're technically trapping the 80% that most likely would not survive winter. So we're taking them, training them, teaching them, hey, instead of hunting rats on the side of the road where you're liable to get hit, let's go in the woods and hunt squirrels. And now you can eat one big old squirrel and be full for a couple days and instead of having to catch 10 mice, So we're, in theory, taking the ones that wouldn't survive, training them, hunting with them, and then releasing them the next year. They go become part of the breeding population, and we're just helping the species on that much more. So
That's
He-
awesome.
Well, you talk about a connection between hunting and conservation.
Yes,
That's,
sir.
that's
So
it is, makes it
80%
good.
don't make it.
That's a
Correct,
crazy
correct.
mortality
Yeah.
rate. I don't
Yep.
like a turkey egg is about the only thing I've known to be that
Yeah,
perishable.
That's true.
Window collisions, feral cats.
I got to ask when you said that too, because in the most recent days we're in, the avian flu thing has to be back. Because I mean, literally 22-23 winter, we had 2 different locations on us that were just a buzzard apocalypse, literally. And I didn't know, did someone try to poison something they got into, whatever? And then we found out it was the avian flu were hitting them really, really hard. In fact, the Mississippi State came over and collected samples of the buzzard roost here that had so many dead, and they confirmed. I would think that would be really deadly on them.
Yeah, and I mean AI is always around. It never goes away. It's just a matter of it's a up
But is
year
it not
or a
more
down
now
year.
than?
Yeah, it's definitely been up the past few years. Most of your falconers kind of changed their target quarry, didn't really go for ducks. Obviously, you catch a duck and start eating on it, very easy to contract it. So a lot of falconers tried to steer clear of waterfowl. There were instances of falconers' birds being lost from it, especially wild birds. You know, they see a dead bird on the ground, it's easy eat, you know, whether it died of AI or not. So it definitely had a negative impact, but hopefully we're getting out of that few years of really high AI right now. So
raptors in general, it looks to me like cultures going all the way back through biblical times have they've held them in a special place. There's cave, I don't know if you say drawings, but cave etchings. You said something about the pyramids. I remember seeing some imagery there. Totem poles look like they have eagles on the top of them. What is it about these birds that just fascinate folks so much?
they're just so majestic, I think, number one, but number two, it's a way of providing food. So you're taking a wild bird, you're getting it to work with you hand in hand, going out and hunting with them. One of my goals with one of my kestrels was to catch a mourning dove. So she ate half the breast, and I made one dove popper. So that's really the only time I've fed myself.
Like Forrest Gump, make yourself a dove come.
So I was excited about that, but pretty much everything that we kill, the birds eat. But it's just that hunting and the bond between you. They don't really like you, but we'd like to think they like us. We like them more than they like us, but they definitely see us as a resource and work with us one-on-one while hunting and getting to see nature firsthand more than anything.
So in doing some research for this, I pulled up this thing and it must have listed every country in the world. And there was a falconry something going on everywhere. And I think the oldest club was in Germany, from what I read. But Mongolia,
Yeah. Big in Mongolia. Everybody sees the eagle hunting in Mongolia off horseback, stuff like that. I do know a falconer who's gone and done that. She studied under some of those guys. Really cool stuff. But in America, probably in the past 60 years or so, we've been practicing pretty heavily. The North American Falconer Association was formed in the 60s. There's pretty much falconry being practiced in every state, with the exception of Hawaii. Big thing in Hawaii, once again, feral cats and stuff, taking out the native songbirds, but they have so many protected species there. They only have one native hawk. Don't want to tell you the name of it because I'd get it wrong, but it's just outlawed there. But everywhere else, pretty well wide open. There's a lot of state regulations that are a little more hard to get by than others. And in Alabama, we're very lucky to have a good state that we work with. We're able to work with Game and Fish and kind of get, if we need rules changed for whatever reason, we talk with them and explain everything, and they're pretty well accepting of anything, because we have to work with the state, because once again, it's something that's not very well known. There's always somebody that's going to have a little bit of knowledge, whether it be biology background or whatever, but we can't get anything done regulation wise unless we cooperate and actually conversate with them. So that's a big part of it, and that's why we have these state and federal clubs. So we have an organization to interact with the government on our behalf. So,
Lanny, why don't you start?
Yeah. So Ruben here, Just can you give us kind of a story of how you ended up with Ruben?
Yeah, so Ruben is a male American kestrel. He's a little over a year old. He fell out of a nest last year. Somebody found him, got him to an actual falconer. Depending on baby birds, when you see them, most of the time, whether it's a bird of prey or not, if they're bouncing around on the ground, parents are still there taking care of them. There's no need to take them and try to get them anywhere, take care of them. We hear a lot of stuff where people have got them and trying to feed them and give them water, and they don't know what they're doing. So if you can tell a bird is obviously injured, put it in a dark cardboard box and get it to a correct rehab facility. But this one was found in a yard, wound up with a falconer. She raised it, and she's actually become ill and transferred him to me. So to get a bird of prey, when we trap it, it's so highly regulated that we have to fill out a federal form, send it in. She filled out the form, kept the bird for a while, transferred him to me about 2 months ago. You have to fill out another form to transfer. So I've had this bird for a couple months, been working with him, training him, getting him to a point where he can hunt for us. And I'm going to transfer him to another falconer here in the next few weeks.
So you get him trained up, and will the guy you transfer him to, or person you transfer him to, continue to hunt with him, or will y'all just kind of pass him along through the community?
He'll continue to hunt with him. Since he was raised by humans from being a baby, he is non-releasable. So you can tell he's kind of hanging out in here.
Yeah.
He's sitting.
He seems to be pretty content.
He's really cool.
He's sitting 4 foot from a red-tailed hawk and has no idea that that's a predator. So he's raised around dogs and humans, and would just go land on somebody's head if he was living in the wild. So he'll go through some different falconers, may wind up in an education facility, something along those lines. So
He's eyeing the ducks hanging up there.
So why wouldn't you
Just a
keep
beautiful
him?
bird.
I'm about to get a Cooper's hawk that is a natural predator of them. So they do require a lot of time and energy. It's not something you can just let out in the backyard like a dog.
Yeah.
So Ruben requires 2 meals a day.
Yeah.
So every morning when I get up, I go weigh him, figure out how much food he needs to eat, get him fed. The red tail eats a half a quail every day. So we've got to go through there and have enough food, be able to prepare it, get them fed. It's a big schedule type deal. So not any type of a hobby, more of a commitment lifestyle type deal, if you will. But I'll get him to somebody who's going to give him everything he deserves, especially since I'll be committing all my time to the new bird I'll be getting in August or so.
Wow.
And is your new bird coming from another falconer?
No, so I'm at falconer.
Okay, so my bad.
Falconeering, we hear all kinds of stuff. Whoops. Had to correct you really quick.
That's
No
a super,
problem.
That's a superhero.
Yeah. So mainly what we're doing is trapping birds from the wild, trying to get those that wouldn't survive. So I'll be trapping one and training it. I'm going to keep the red tail for right now so I can still go out and squirrel hunt and stuff in the fall. But the majority of them are going to be coming from the wild, whether you go and get a chick out of the nest and raise it, or trap a first-year bird. We can only trap birds that are in their first year of life. We call them passage birds. They're on their first passage of migration. The adults are second year and up, or in the breeding population. We got to leave them to obviously continue.
Well, you need better anyway, because they're conditioned. I mean, they're not as conditioned to the wild and more imprint on you when you get them young.
So we're able to take them and kind of mold how we want them to do. They're a lot more set in their ways the further on they are. My first kestrel, she was about 8 months old when I got her. It was a lot easier to teach her to hunt because she had been doing it for 6 months, providing for herself, versus you'd catch a bird or get a bird that's out of the nest. You have to teach it everything. So they don't know how to hunt and provide for themselves yet.
Okay, I know I'm asking a whole bunch of questions, but it's on the same thought. So the Cooper's hawk that you so have you identified, or you just waiting to the right time of year to find one?
Yeah, so depending on the species, there's a ton of different opinions on it. But with Cooper hawks, they say that the best time to get them is when they're a family bird, is what we call it. There's a lot of different terms that are always taken a lot of different ways with falconers. But when they're still hanging out in the area of the nest, the parents are still probably taking care of them. They're socializing with their siblings. They're bouncing around and just learning about life, but not really having to depend depend on their hunting skills to survive. That's the goal for me. I've got a couple nests that I'm looking at. Got another falconer that's keeping eyes on one for me. So goal would be to trap them in that time frame. They're a little more, like I said, accepting of you. You're kind of going in and taking them when they're in a sociable age as opposed to being on their own. But with Cooper's Hawks, they're a little more hard to deal with than the red tail and the kestrel we've got here. They're a little more high strung. The advice I've gotten when you take them off the trap, ski mask like you're robbing a bank, all black everything, black ski gloves on, the whole 9 yards. So it's a traumatizing, hey, I'm getting taken from the wild and going into captivity. So you don't associate yourself with that time frame. The next day you get them out and it's just smooth sailing from there on.
Your face and feeding them. Your face and feeding them.
Yep. And you don't want hands to be the first. It's kind of frightening, you know. So being able to ease them into everything, there's a lot of different techniques, and I have a bookshelf full of different books for depending on what species you're working with and how you're raising them and all that. So there's all kinds of books and opinions. I mean, you can imagine with as long as it's been around, there's been a lot of new inventions and and new techniques for training. So.
And you're talking about trapping. Are you like flapping a ladder up on a tree and climbing up there and grabbing them out of the nest, or is there a device that you use?
With the birds that you start out with when you're a falconer, and I'll go into some of the requirements to get your license and all here in a minute, but we're normally trapping red-tailed hawks. So you see the juvenile red-tailed hawk sitting on the power line looking for mice, grasshoppers, whatever, and we use a trap where we go up and see them on the power line, get them to come down for a mouse or whatever the case may be, trap them, and then we get them and start it's called the manning process then. So being able to get them and start the training, get them used to living in captivity and having a falconer care for them.
I mean, is it a net, a box?
So it's a trap that has nooses on it. So they come down and try to grab the mouse, get caught with the nooses. Same concept with them not seeing us. We go up and wrap a towel around them, set their hood on them, and get them set up where they're kind of out of sight, out of mind. So this guy, like I said, he was raised by humans. He's not scared of anything. He's fine just sitting here hanging out. But with the red tail, we've got our hood on. So out of sight, out of mind. If they can't see it, they're not worried about it.
Kind of Darth Vader looking.
Man. I'm sorry. I know I used up all my questions, but I couldn't stop.
So the kestrel.
Yes, sir.
Ruben. He's actually a falcon.
Yes. So there's 3 different types of birds of prey. Obviously, everybody knows falcon. It's called falconry. The definition of a falcon is a bird that it's called a tomial tooth in their beak. So it's made specifically for putting a bird's neck in. They can come in, crush the spinal cord with that tooth. It's got a notch on the bottom beak and a tooth that comes down off the top beak. So your falcons are going to be birds with longer wings, shorter tails. They're going to come in from an aerial pursuit, dive down in a stoop, most of the time kill their quarry with impact, pinning them down to the ground. Your Cooper's hawk that we were talking about, you have sharp-shinned hawks, Cooper's hawks, and goshawks. They're all called short wings. They're going to do their approach on hunting from more of a pursuit flight. They come from below and climb up to the quarry. Then you have your bootios is what it's called, kind of a funny word, for your red-tailed hawks, red-shouldered hawks, and Harris hawks. They're going to do a type of flight that's bouncing around tree to tree, dive down, grab their quarry, and their actual talons work kind of like ratchets. So they just eventually come in and kill. Your Cooper's hawks and sharp-shinned hawks and goshawks have very long talons that are able to get through the feathers of feathered prey and into the actual muscle and stuff. So they're all made individually unique for whatever they're hunting. And with us, it's all about selecting the right bird for the right quarry that you have. You don't want to get a bird that you don't have any quarry to hunt. So
makes sense.
Yeah, I think at lunch you were talking about, getting a certain bird, to hunt ducks out west would be vastly different than hunting squirrels around here. So.
My goal is to take the Cooper's hawk. I'm going to hunt dove, if possible, catch some ducks with it. But I actually got into falconry. I saw a video of it was a wild prairie falcon that killed a dry feeding Drake mallard, and I saw that and dove into it. It's actually a wildlife photographer who filmed that, and he was a falconer as well. So I dove down the rabbit hole, and North Alabama here in the southeast, we don't have quite the wide open plains with ponds in the middle like they do out west. So the duck hunting that I would do around here is more jumping them out of creeks and having the short rising flight from the accipiters as opposed to the dive bomb flight of a falcon.
Okay, so you walk in a creek and
Yep.
and a couple wood ducks jump up, and that's when you would send the Coopers on its way.
So bird would fly off the fish, go catch one, then I'd come up and assist.
So did you grow up hunting?
Yeah, so grew up duck hunting, come from a dog training background, raised labs for duck hunting, did that professionally, and actually sold that business and then saw the falconry video literally like a week after. So God just placed it in the right place, the right time.
Yeah.
Well, it's it's a commitment.
Oh, for sure.
Like I don't know why I'm in the nursery business, and there's a lot going on there. People that have chicken houses. You're married to that. Raising dogs, same thing. You got to get up with them every morning, and so I can see where that would be a good handoff.
Same deal. You're just so federally regulated that when you go out of town, you have to submit a letter to the government telling them who's taking care of your bird and things like that.
That's
so
amazing.
There's a lot that goes into it.
Jeremy, I read a book, and I guess now it's probably been about 50 years ago. I'm looking around the room to see if anybody else recognizes this, but My Side of the Mountain. Did y'all, that book, when I was just
You read a book 50 years ago?
Yeah, I was probably 9 years old. My Side of the Mountain, and that little boy kind of runs away from home in the Catskills. Do you know the story I'm talking about?
Yeah, that's a lot of falconers' first exposure. I was growing up, we read Hatchet instead of My Side of the Mountain, but I read it once I got my falconry license and realized, okay, this is a lot of people's aha moment. Everybody has that one moment. Most of the time it's when you hold a bird on the fist for the first time. Seeing that video of the duck being killed by the prairie falcon was definitely my aha moment. But there's people that read that book and they say, wow, you can do this, and they dive into the library. And granted, 50 years ago you didn't have the internet. All you could do was go to your library and try to find falconry books. So the way that people have gotten introduced to it over time is a lot different. But I'm thankful to be in the internet era where I got to see it and just search everything and dive into it right then.
So you had to apprentice under somebody, I'm assuming.
Yeah. So when you start out, basically you send in a letter to the state, request a falconry packet. Most all states have the same process. So you reach out to your state game and fish. They send you a packet about falconry. Back in the old days, we'll call it, you got a list of all the falconers in the states, phone numbers and addresses, and hopefully somebody was close to you. And if they were close enough to get some in-person time, fantastic. If they were close enough for it to not be a long-distance phone call, great. But most of the time, you're talking to somebody across the state. They don't really know anything about you. It's all about, hey, are they really going to come and show up to hunt? Are they really involved in this? Is this somebody that just wants a pet? Whatever the case may be. So you show up, you meet people, you let people see that you're interested in it by going on hunts and actually caring about what's going on. And you get somebody to sponsor you. So that's a 2-year commitment. You'll be an apprentice under somebody. They are overseeing every single thing you're doing. You have to take a test in all states. Have to make at least an 80 on the test, answering basic questions. Once you get your license, game warden comes to your house, inspects all of your equipment, your housing area, the whole 9 yards, gives you the thumbs up and says, hey, you're good to go. Then you start trapping. So trapping, my first bird, I rode around 600 miles before I finally found the bird. My most recent bird, I was on the road 30 minutes. So it's just all about the time of the year. where you're at. I mean, there's all kinds of little factors that go into it. But once you trap your bird, you go through the training process, hunt them. Your sponsor will be involved and kind of help you along that way. They're the ones that you go to with any questions. I was very blessed. I had what I call a falconry stepmom. So I had my sponsor, then I had a lady that I always called and bounced everything off of. So I say the more opinions you can get from other folks, the better. You can kind of make your own opinion and figure out what works best for you, because one person's falconry obviously is not another person's falconry. But at the end of that 2-year time frame, your sponsor says, hey, yeah, I'll sign off and say that this guy's done what he needed to do. We trust him to become a general falconer, is what you are after an apprentice. That allows you to trap other types of birds. You're allowed to have more than one bird in your possession, so it goes up to 3 at that point, and just allows you a little more variety.
Actually, when you think back all your days of hunting, squirrel hunting, duck hunting, have you ever seen like a hawk grab a squirrel when you've been in the woods? Yeah.
In fact, I started using it later, but my dad, Mr. Fox, he was hunting with a friend of his down in Louisiana, and he was the one that showed him how to use a squirrel call. And he actually, at the time, they were in a swamp, he grabbed some palmettos and trimmed them up a little bit. But you can do it with something else. But he wouldn't just hit the squirrel call, but he would squall like a squirrel that got caught, and then have that flapping wing sound, and squirrels just started barking and fussing at it everywhere. So that's mimicking that. I mean, if you are out squirrel hunting, you'll know if a hawk or an owl, that matter, sails in and lights, you just squirrels start barking everywhere, fussing at them. So yeah, and I've seen them catch a lot of stuff.
Do you experience
I've seen one hit a duck before.
Yeah,
we were talking about that at lunch. I've seen it too. It's amazing.
Yeah, do you experience that with your birds? The squirrels chattering?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously when we come in, they know we're there. It's a little different when it gets out of a Chevy Silverado than flying in from the sky, but some of our normal spaces, they know where we park, and when I pull up, they'll scurry off and go.
I bet the gig's up, like, we get into a block of woods and you shoot with silence 22s, it changes things, but the first shot goes off, and if it's been hunting much, the gig's over. I bet you with a hawk, the gig's over as soon as you catch one.
For sure. We got some tips of the trade, though. We carry a measuring tape with us. We'll slide that in a squirrel hole, try to run them out the other end. I've had them come down my arm and run across my back, and the bird about take my ear off. And so you're up close. Wow. There's no hunting you can do where you're as much involved as squirrel hawking and flying a bird in any way, for that matter.
Yeah, I'm watching the videos, especially with squirrels. It's not if the bird misses a squirrel, it's not over.
No, that's my turn. I'm the dog in this race.
And the hawk is not afraid to kind of maneuver around up in there and go after it. Just because it goes to the other side of the tree doesn't mean the fun's over.
So
one of crazy.
There's a lot of pain in the butts out there in nature today. And like hogs, it's just that gets it in everybody's mind what I'm talking about, or the cormorants that destroy your fish ponds or whatever. But I think the worst one's getting to be rats. And I don't know what I said the word rat and he flew. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, you would have a better handle on it just seems like we've had this huge surge in the rat population or something going on, because
rodents,
what's happened to us, they're eating the wiring out of tractors, bulldozers, houses. Sheds, four-wheelers. They're just destroying things right and left. And there's so many more rats in the last 5 years. I'm wondering what's going on with that, because what I was getting around to that was one of my favorite things being on a tractor was bush hogging. And I've started finally to do the perimeter and work my way in. And as I get closer, rats start bailing out from that. And it is so much fun to watch those hawks wearing them out. I can remember one afternoon bush hogging out there by Neil's, and I saw at least a dozen get caught by, and the sun was shining, and I could see the shadows all around the cab of the hawks that were hovering over my head waiting for another rat to come out. It was so cool.
They're smart for sure. And I mean, I'm gonna, as a falconer and just caring about the well-being of birds of prey, anytime I have the opportunity, I'm gonna blame it on rodenticide. But you got to think, you got a hawk that catches a rat and dies, and then how many more rats are still living? You know,
Oh,
they
my gosh.
may go make a nest, and then the mom get poisoned, but you got 13, 14 that are still running rampant. So I've got a guy that he's a falconer, and they run little terriers on anything that'll run, you know. So in the off season, they go ratting. They'll take these dogs and let them jump
That's
in
an idea.
dumpsters.
Oh, that's fun.
I mean, it's sporting.
rat killing.
Yeah, it's sporting for sure.
So you're saying that a lot of these guys around barns and stuff are putting out some type of poison for rodents, and then it's harming the birds.
All your little black boxes at houses. I mean, in houses, you got to think how many hawks you see just buzzing around neighborhoods.
Yeah,
you know?
it seems like the regulations would prevent them from, because not all poisons pass along.
Yep. It's just like your DDT back in the day.
That,
so
that should be something.
Being that it's especially affecting these federal, migratory birds, you would think there would be, somebody would come in. And
it reminds me, Dudley gets real upset about the pesticides used and what they're doing to bees.
Yep.
Sometimes, and people just aren't thinking,
exact same thing.
So Jeremy, you're not old enough to probably remember back long ago, but it seems like, Toxie, jump in here and help me, but it seems like there's a lot more hawks now than there was.
It sure seems
20
to be.
or 25 years ago.
Back in the day, his name comes up every day, Bob Dixon. By the way, just got inducted to the Mississippi Hunting and Fishing Hall of Fame. Very cool.
Yeah.
His family came to town for that. That was so cool. But he used to play a game, and he included me in a lot of things in life, hunting and fishing. But like in the winter, especially the crops are gone, whatever, and we would be traveling. We'd be on the road. We might go to Texas or somewhere on business. But he would start playing a game with you. And of course, even if he was driving, he could eagle eyes, and it was like who could spot the most hawks. And I mean, you might drive a couple hundred miles, and literally it might be 151 to 148. They're just everywhere in the winter. Now we still have some, but it's got to be a migration coming into the south in the winter because we have so many more hawks. And especially today, I mean, I see way more than I used to see. They're all around my house. You can hear them. If you're outside for 5 or 10 minutes, you'll hear one. Yeah.
Yeah,
Preaching.
and I mean, definitely winter. They're all migratory. Down here in the southeast, we have just resident birds, obviously, that don't ever leave.
The red tails seems like they're around all the time.
Yeah, we do have migratory red tails that come in as well. I live right by Wheeler Wildlife Refuge.
Oh, wow.
I trapped my second bird literally on the closest telephone pole to the refuge. And I assume that bird was a resident bird. I'm just assuming, right there with that
that's a
environment.
good thought. So can you hunt in the wildlife refuge with your falcon, or how do you keep your falcon from catching one in the wildlife refuge?
Once we let the birds loose, we're kind of, I can't tell them what to do, So obviously we don't want to trespass on private property and stuff like that. We even have what's called a let it lie law. So if the bird catches something that's not in season, we are not liable for it. They're able to go up and feed on it, and then we take the bird and leave the quarry there. It's for nature to take course, another buzzard, whatever the case may be.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, because it'd get out of hand. That's the only thing you can do.
Definitely. But back to the question about the hawks and all as well. You probably saw the rise in hawks just from the spraying of the ditches, DDT being gone, stuff like that. I mean, that was the big thing that took a lot of your birds of prey out. So,
I want to say, didn't it cause their shells to be thinner?
Yep. Thin the shells in the peregrine falcon was the big study that was done, and it was actually falconers breeding peregrines in captivity and releasing them into the wild that got the peregrines off of the endangered list. So
there you go, hunters being conservationists again.
See these people? When the clock strikes 5, it's not the end. It's just the beginning. They have to do these things. They have to do those things. Enter the all-new LS Tractor MT2 and MT2E, a relentless force of innovation. Redesigned with a new hood and cab built for comfort and visibility, with enhanced lifting capacity to get the job done. Making these people the ones everyone else calls those people. Visit your local LS Tractor dealer today.
Moultrie has pioneered the game management category. Today, Moultrie is one of the best-selling brands of feeders and seeders in the world, and they continue to innovate with new technology that gamekeepers will rely on. Moultrie products are always field-tested and designed for hunters by hunters, combining forward-thinking innovation with time-tested practicality. Moultrie, first in feeders since 1979. All right, so guys, Moultrie is offering our listeners a 15% site-wide discount at MoultrieFeeders.com. Use code Mossy Oak with a capital M, Mossy Oak, at MoultrieFeeders.com and get that 15% discount. So, Jeremy, I mentioned earlier about how our culture has had, through the years, have had so much respect. The Bible, when the Bible speaks of a falcon, it talks about a person having a spiritual vision, swiftness, and divine protection. So there's obviously a lot of respect for a falcon from a biblical point of view. It's something that I think the average person maybe overlooks. But then when you start kind of drilling into raptors and hawks and falcons, all this stuff kind of bubbles up, and it's like I just realized this has been going on a long time.
Yeah, and I mean, overlooked is a good way to say it, but you can see it. I mean, I get to experience it firsthand. Somebody's eyes light up when they do see a bird of prey up close for the first time, make eye to eye with. It's a majestic thing. I mean, it's definitely nothing that you can scoff at. It's very hard for somebody to see me getting the bird out of the truck and just kind of keep driving or keep walking, act like nothing happened, you know. So it's something that we definitely feel that connection with. And I mean, the Lord made them for a purpose, and he let us start hunting with them for a purpose. So I don't know if they were made for us to do that with or what, but it is amazing how, like you said, I mean, they just go back in time, and everybody has felt that connection with them from the beginning of time to now. So,
I mean, there's a lot of lure with birds. You know, a lot of us, me included, think that they're somehow connected to heaven or God, or
they're closer than we are. So
so there's, you know, when you become more connected to a bird like Ruben, I don't know, there's got to be something to that.
And a lot of it, there's never been a kid alive that didn't say they wish they could fly. So
exactly,
I get that much closer to it than everybody else does. So
Jeremy, how many falconers do you think are like? Let's just take where you're from, Alabama. How many are in Alabama?
I think I'm license number 185, and that's since the beginning of it being regulated by the state. I saw a statistic that said there's 85 falconers for every 1 million humans on the planet. So not very many of us. Kind of a very niche type deal, if you will. People get in it from all different walks of life, whether it be you had that just connection with one that you saw, whether it be an educational deal or a Renaissance fair, anything at all. But most folks have some type of connection to it, and if you're lucky enough to see one firsthand from a falconer, you can normally tell the folks that they don't stop asking. People like myself, you know, you can tell when people have a couple questions and that's about it, or when somebody like me just doesn't shut up and they're like, all right, this guy's going to be one, you know. So they're far and few between, but we're a tight-knit group.
Mm-hmm.
Mac, you look like you got a question.
I've got a lot of questions. Is there any difference between hawking and falconry?
The same thing, just different terms. You're always practicing falconry if you're hunting with a bird of prey. That's 100% the definition of falconry. If you're not hunting with the bird, you're doing them a disjustice, and you're basically just pet keeping is what we call it. It's pretty bad now with social media, people just wanting to have a bird and take pictures with it and stuff like that. I created my social media just solely to follow falconers and post my hunting videos. So as long as you're doing right by the bird, taking care of them and helping them and letting them do what they would be doing naturally, I would say you're falconer, you're hawking, whatever you want to call it. So
yeah, I mean, you're allowing this bird to live its best life.
Yeah, in my office, pooping everywhere.
And but not sitting in a cage all day.
Right. Yeah, he's got his own little table in my office, and I keep a little piece of tarp down there underneath it to make it easy to clean. But yeah, I mean, they're safe from when it pours down rain. They look out the window. I'm like, "Man, you got it made." Yeah. Getting fed twice a day, just hanging out, air conditioning.
My favorite video, which just turned me on to your Instagram page, a couple years ago, you had a bird named Churro and another kestrel. And it was almost like a day in the life. You know, it started out with the lights coming on in the morning and you weighing it and feeding it and then, you know, taking it out to do its thing. So without getting too detailed, what is a day in the life of a Churro or a Ruben?
Yeah, for sure. And a lot of it depends on obviously the falconer schedule. I'm very blessed with my job. I work for a jacuzzi dealer in North Alabama. We take out fiberglass and tile tubs and walk-in showers and replace them with something that a little more functional for folks looking for getting older and aesthetically pleasing. So I run 10 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and 6 o'clock appointments. I'm liable to be in there 2 to 3 hours, but I always have a little time, whether it be in the morning or the evening. But the bird goes everywhere with me. Like you said in that video, I get up in the morning, weigh the bird, prepare the food for the day. They ride on a perch in my front seat. The air stays on 24/7. They just hang out in there, and we just hunt in between appointments and everywhere I'm going. So with these guys, it's a little more day-to-day activity type deal. With the red tail, I squirrel hunt. So if I have a 10 o'clock appointment, I'm up crack of dawn, loading the bird up, go squirrel hunt, get back in, shower, and go to work. The bird, they keep on a schedule. So sometimes I'll realize like, hey, this weekend we got this, that, and the other to do. I may go hunt in the afternoon, preparing the bird to hunt the afternoon the next day. So it's all about repetition. You can't really just let them go. These small birds obviously are a little more meticulous than the large hawks. So you have to be on top of it and make sure that everything happens roughly the same time every day, because one small mistake, you got a pretty dainty little guy there you're taking care of. So got to be on top of it all. So hunting them every day is, I mean, everybody tries to hunt their birds every day, obviously, but we obviously have to work still, unfortunately. But
That's
so cool.
I've got a question about, squirrel hunting. So you get out of the truck, what do you do?
So get out of the truck. She doesn't have them on right now, but kind of go over the equipment that we have. She's got anklets on her feet, and we attach bells to those. So the bells are how we hear where they're at. I also have a GPS that I put on the bird's anklet. So get out, turn on the GPS, screw it onto the anklet, check to make sure I have all my equipment in my bag, let the bird go. So I'll just hold my fist up and she'll fly off and go land on a tree. I'm going to have a walking stick with me. My bag, I've got everything from a tape measure in case a squirrel runs in a hole to business cards in case people think I'm crazy running around through the woods. I can at least prove to them I didn't escape a mental hospital or something, because you look very, very goofy out there beating on trees and hollering. So,
so is that a preacher stick or is it a walking stick?
It's normally we're using axe handles because they can handle whatever you're beating on, and you can use them as a walking stick too. But go out in the woods. The bird, when we initially start the training, kind of give you a background on that. They learn that we provide food. Once you transition into hunting, they learn that we provide opportunities to catch food. So you go pretty quick from a, hey, here's food, fly to me, to, hey, let's run out in the woods and I will make something run in front of you and you have the opportunity to catch it. So the first squirrel or rabbit that a falconry bird catches, we normally sit there and show them, hey, look, we're going to assist you. You get to eat a lot of food. All this happened because you followed me through the woods. So a bird that's made and really knows what's happening, I just take off walking through the woods. When I see something move, I chase it, try to keep it moving. Hopefully the bird catches it. And if not, we just keep pursuing. With me coming from dogs, I haven't really incorporated dogs too much into my falconry. I took one of my labs that's a trained duck dog and kind of took her out in the front yard whenever I saw a squirrel, and she'll run and tree it. But only got out with her a couple times. But obviously the use of dogs just makes you that much more efficient. But try to flush animals for the bird to catch, and once they catch one that I actually made run out of a hole or whatever, they realize, hey, this guy's not that bad. I need to just start following him through the woods, and I'll catch something and be able to eat. So that's kind of how it all starts out. So,
you've got to be it's like a parent to this bird in a lot of ways, because you're looking out for things that can harm it in the same sense that you would your child.
Yeah, for sure. We'll have resident birds that are nesting in the territory that we're hunting come up and try to take them out just like they would. I've had birds, it's called crabbing, when they grab talons and kind of wrestle with each other, falling down to the ground. And obviously my bird's a little more tolerant than the wild ones with a human being around. So normally when we run up there, the wild one will let go and kind of run off. But owls are always an issue. People will have birds. I've had one bird that stayed the night, is what we call it. So something happens, the bird sees another animal, flies off trying to catch it, whatever, and now we're walking around through the woods hunting an evening, and the sun goes down and we haven't found the bird. Or if a bird were to catch something and eat it all and then be up in a tree, I mean, instincts are going to take in. They're going to say, hey, look, it's time to roost for the night. They'll sit up in the tree, and I've heard of folks getting sleeping bags and sleeping underneath the tree. And you got to get out there first thing in the morning to try to get the bird down. But the biggest problem at night's owls. So a lot of guys that'll have a smaller bird that's out in the woods all night, they'll come back to find leather equipment and a GPS transmitter and feathers. So the big deal is just trying to, like you said, I mean, be a parent, look out for their well-being. We make sure they eat every day and clean up after them and have clean housing and clean water bowls, the whole 9 yards.
So when you've got a new bird and you're out there and he's on your leather glove and you send him that first time, are you pretty puckered up that he might not come back?
Oh, yeah. So we start out, we do training in the house, in the garage, shop, whatever. Get to the point where we go on what's called a creance. It's a long leash with a weight in the middle. We sit them on a perch and we call them to us, obviously working up the distance. Get to the point where they're flying straight to us with no hesitation or trying to divert away, and then take the leash off. And it's called a free flight, and that first one is obviously very nerve-wracking. You just hope that the bird comes back. But we do what's called lure training. So we have a lure for them that basically to them it represents a full meal. So the first time that they come to it, they actually get to eat a full meal, normally plus some, and it gets them what we call wed to the lure. So then they see that lure come out, they know that's a lot more than just a piece of meat on a glove, you know. So hopefully if you've got your bird wed to the lure good through training, you're able to throw it out and kind of a backup deal. They say, hey, look, I know that means a lot of food, and they'll come down. If not, you trap that bird from the wild, and if they don't want to stay, they can go out in the wild and pick the equipment off their ankles and go right back just like they came from. So it's a good thing about these birds is the Lord lets us use them for a little while, but we always give them back. So.
Well, speaking of that, so that churro bird, there's a video of you releasing him. Well, talk through the emotions of that day.
Yeah, so I had her for, I trapped her. I had a little over a year. I kept her through the molt, so that's what our birds are doing right now, going through the molt. They're going to shed out basically all of their old worn feathers and grow new ones in. So
I think she just saw the pintail. Ruben just saw that pintail sitting right there. I'm telling you, he was focused on it.
That's funny. He'd probably try to grab it too. That's the thing with him. He has no fear, so he's.
I think he saw something in your nose.
No, he was looking right at that pintail. He's like he's a little, you know that little cartoon, Richie. Come, Richie. How long did it take you to get that work? Lord have mercy. But So yeah, go back to Churro. That had to be pretty emotional.
Yeah, big thing for me. I'd accomplished what I wanted to accomplish with her. When you go through the ranks of birds that you get, some states allow red-shouldered hawks, but generally you're going to get a red tail or a kestrel as an apprentice. I flew 2 red tails, decided I wanted to do a kestrel, trapped Churro, hunted with her, did everything I wanted to do. She got to the point where she'd get irritated if I wasn't taking her hunting that day, and I had my 4th bird, the other kestrel that I was training, and I said, hey, look, I've had her in captivity. She's done everything I wanted her to do. She's a 1.5 years old. She's grown all new pretty feathers. I'm going to put her back out and see if she'll go partner up and have some babies, you know. I mean, that's what it's all about. And obviously I had a little bit of an attachment to her, but she went through about a week of me taking food and giving it to her. She wasn't eating off of my fist or flying to me. Got to the point where she had pretty much 0 human interaction. I looked her over good, treated her for flat flies is what we call them, little bugs on a bird, things like that. So she just had a little bit of extra things going her way before she went back out into the wild. But I took her from the exact same place I trapped her, went over there, had scissors, cut the anklets off of her legs and threw her up in the air, and she just flew off, went right to the same tree that she came out of when I trapped her. So it's pretty cool. As quick as you can get them and train them and have them used to living in captivity, you can let them go and they'll revert back to the wild. So
Do you think you would be able to recognize Churro if you saw her?
I don't think so. There are guys, obviously these guys are they're a dove basically size wise, but I know folks that have released red tails in the area, and I mean, they're pretty easy to tell the difference of if they have distinct markings, but they say they see them all the time. They've seen them nest and raise young and all that. So I believe that they are sticking around if you're in a area climate that you have just resident birds. But if you trapped a bird that was from around there and they see that they want to stick around, they probably will. But yeah, I don't think I could recognize her.
Well, the hawk sitting down here on the floor is so calm.
Yeah, so with falconry, I'm sure everybody's seen the hoods that go on the birds' heads. That's one of the number one questions. What's the shackles on its feet and what's the helmet on its head for, you know? So they're big, out of sight, out of mind, you know. If they can't see it, they don't care about it. So that's a regular hood. It's a leather hood. So there's all different types of styles from whatever area of the world you're from. But basically they all do the same thing, cover the eyes up, take away that sensory, and then they just act like basically it's nighttime in their mind. They're trying to stay still because, like I said, owls flying around, things like that. So when we do that, it's just really for the birds' safety as well as keeping them calm for us. But you saw the kestrel came here in what's called a giant hood, so it's just a big box that completely darkens up. They have ventilation in it. They have a perch in there and a way to tie off the leash on them. But that's just a safe way for transport, a way to keep the bird calm, prevent them from just burning through a bunch of unneeded energy and stuff like that. So
I tell you, that bird is so beautiful. And it's just looking around the room, it's taking it all in. So this bird, is this a male or female?
This is a male. With all birds of prey, the females are usually about a third larger than the males, is an easy way to think about it. This bird weighs about 85 to 90 grams, and don't make me try to convert that to anything anybody can understand. The easiest way to think of it, this bird is 85 and that bird is 1600. So it gives a pretty good range there. So
and is Ruben mature?
Yeah, so he's a year old now. He molted his first feather, so pushed his first wing feather out yesterday. Whereas Eagle down here, my red-tailed hawk, I know that's confusing, but she has lost, I guess about 6 tail feathers and getting in a lot of wing feathers, some back feathers, stuff like that. So
I have a question about okay, so if Ruben, you said 85 grams, so that's a tenth of a pound, so it's like 1.8. or 0.18. So what kind of weight could Ruben take down? And the same for eagle.
Depending on what your actual target quarry is, they can take down. So like a mourning dove, if you think about how thick their feathers are, that kind of knocks them out of being able to catch them because they don't have the long accipiter toes and talons. So you could catch, I mean, my churro bird caught a mourning dove. She weighed about 100 grams. So when they catch something, pretty much in all form of falconry, besides having an actual large falcon dive out of the sky in a stoop, that's going to be an impact kill. But the majority of falconry is the bird becoming an anchor. They can catch something larger, they hold them down, and they know that the falconer's coming in to assist. So we are able to take larger quarry than they would normally probably target in the wild. So a bird this size, 85 grams, I mean, he could probably take down anything that he could get his feet around, but size wise they are kind of leery of what they're going to try to take on. You know, they don't want to get whooped up on themselves just from trying to get greedy and catch something larger. But most of these birds are targeting sparrows and starlings, stuff like that, little songbirds.
Can Ruben the kestrel tell species apart?
He hasn't had enough experience yet. I've only had him for a couple of months, and he literally lived free lofted in a bedroom. She'd open the door and he'd come buzzing through the house and land on the curtain rods and stuff like that. So my two other birds that I had and hunted with for a while, they would ride down the road and ignore robins and dove on the side of the road, but the second they saw starlings or sparrows, they would perk up, and kind of like a dog when you say want to go out or you hungry kind of deal, when they just perk up their ears and look at you. So it's pretty cool when they do that, and you can tell, all right, they're into it, they understand the game, and they want to do it. So they understand at the end of the day, they're just like training any other animal. You know, they repetition shows them, when I see these birds, I normally have an opportunity to catch one, and when I catch one, I normally get to eat, you know. So it's a big game for them. So
can you I guess it's falconry because they're falcons, but do you know anybody that practices falconry with eagles?
Yeah, so with eagles, they're a little harder to come by, obviously. Different states put out tags for falconers to get eagles. Golden eagles are common around here. We got more bald eagles around here now. Big thing out west is depredation tags. So you'll actually get the permission to trap an eagle that's been preying on lambs and stuff like that. And so it's all done through the government most of the time in the state or territory where you're trapping from. But like I said, it's all state dependent, federal override state, obviously. So but yeah, there are folks that hunt with eagles. A lot of times they're hunting jackrabbits out in the desert. So it's a pretty cool flight to watch. I've never seen it in person, but a lot of people will do it off horseback, get on the top of a ridge, have sight hounds, whatever the case may be, flushing the jackrabbit. So the combination of bird and dog working together is pretty cool to watch, and it's just as old of a time as hunting with falcons alone. You know, pretty popular thing is horseback with an accipiter, so a Cooper's hawk, goshawk mostly, and bird dogs on point. So you pull up on horseback, give the flush command for the dog, bird flies off the horse, goes and catches the quail, you ride up to it, get off, and you're right there. So I mean, that's about as combining as many different animals into one activity as you possibly can. So
yeah, you really, I didn't know that they did the quail flush.
Yeah,
that was pretty cool.
Bobby,
awesome.
we need to get Jesse one of these.
So, Jeremy, I noticed on your car, on your truck, which you pulled up in, you're an Alabama fan.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But you have to admit that the Auburn mascot and their pregame ceremony, that has got to be pretty cool to you, isn't it?
My fiance's entire family's Auburn fans, and we go to games and stuff, and I'm good friends with all the folks that are in the Raptor Center down there. I've seen it all happen. My dog kennel that I brought the red tail in, she's a little bigger than most, so she doesn't fit in the typical giant hood that you buy off the internet. So Auburn has the gunner kennels with a plywood bottom and a perch that they make in there. So I kind of copied that for her. But great folks. They do a ton of really good work down there. Pretty hard program to get in, so kudos to the folks that get in that program down there, and they learn a lot and normally always come out doing something conservation wise and working with birds of prey. So
it's amazing to me that bird can focus like that with all 89,000 screaming folks, and there's pigeons flying around everywhere too, and that bird can. My daughter wrote an article for millennia-old.com about the young lady this past year that was one of the trainers. The young lady was kind of hiding behind some of the people there, and the bird circled a few times, and then she ran out there.
And it's repetition. They do it in the same place every time. Every day, that's how the bird gets fed. They know to come out from the top and circle down for the lure. And all the eagles that they use from there are non-releasable. They've got some type of injury that is having them live in captivity. And basically just like these guys, they have all the food and water and care and medical attention they need, and they get to live a good long life. And they even take some of those birds, and they're doing the Philadelphia Eagles games and stuff like that. So
it surprised me that young lady was hiding from that bird is what I took away from that.
Yeah, I don't know the ins and outs of that. The main thing I can think of is they're presenting that lure as the means to come down out of the sky. So just like when I was out running around and the wild birds recognized me as a source of food, even though I didn't have my bird, he's going to look at her and say, hey, she's got that lure, So I'm assuming that's what it was, just kind of staying out of eyesight from it. So
Ruben is staring at the pintail again. So it's amazing how smart these birds are. That's one of the things I've taken away, because as you've described some of your hunting scenarios, these birds learn very fast.
Oh yeah, you're looking at about 2-4 weeks from the time we get them out of the wild until we're out hunting with them and normally catching their first head of game. So
that there tells me that humans have been working together with these things for eons for a reason.
Yeah, we're made to mesh right together when you know what you're doing, for sure.
I've got a lot of questions I want to ask, but I'm sitting here and I'm just kind of mesmerized by the way the birds are just sitting here so still, and they're so regal. Can you think back to a moment that you've had with one of your birds through the years? It was just like this is what it's all about.
Yeah,
this is why I do it.
Anytime you get that bird and see all the hard work come together and actually get a kill is always a good time. And eagle here, I actually got to take out some family that we had a death in the family. Everybody's kind of down in the dumps, and being able to take folks out, and it was her first kill, and I had friends and family with us, and everybody's there. And when somebody sees it for the first time, not just holding the bird for the first time, but actually sees what we're doing. Everybody can see a picture and see the bird sitting on the perch in the middle of a podcast, but they don't also coincide that with that bird runs through the woods and chases rabbits down and catches them and stuff like that. So whenever people get to really put it all together and see the whole deal together in one big puzzle, I guess, putting the puzzle together, they see the husbandry side of it, they see the actual care of it, how much work goes into it, and then how sweaty I am and how crazy I look running through the woods trying to flush squirrels. And then they realize, okay, it all makes sense now, but I guess when people get to see it come full circle is a big thing for me. But also kids, man, being able to, like, the neighbor kids see me outside and everybody floods over, can we see the bird, can we see the bird? So being able to swap a bird, which this guy right here, you don't have to wear a glove, he's not gonna really hurt you. So being able to have the smaller birds and pass them from hand to hand for a kid and get behind them and whistle and have it come land on their hand and stuff like that, there's going to be a future falconer in there somewhere, so that's really rewarding as well.
That's great. So you mentioned they obviously eat meat from the prey they capture. Do they drink?
Yeah, so you do get a lot of liquid from the meat that they're eating, but they'll drink, they bathe. I keep them all there when they're tethered on their perch. They have a bath pan beside them, and then the red tail. So part of your equipment that you have to legally have is an 8-foot by 8-foot by 8-foot enclosure. So there have to be some type of windows in it. They have to have a bath pan, different types of perches with different material to prevent any sores on their feet and stuff like that. So in that bath pan, you'll see them. They'll stand on the edge and lean down there and drink some, and they'll get in there and take baths, and you'll see them flipping the water over on their back and all that. And people don't know dust baths are pretty popular with all birds. You'll see sparrows doing it. They'll get in the pile of dirt on the side of the road and just take a bath just like they are in the water. And some people will have trays of sand for their birds to get in and bathe and stuff like that. But it really just shows that a falconry bird is comfortable when they're able to hop in the water, and just they're really vulnerable then, obviously. Different things that I look for that let me know my bird is content. They'll pull one foot up. So they do that mainly to conserve energy. So if you put both hands on the table and you move them, you can feel where it's warm. You put one hand down instead of the two, you're letting that much less energy out. So when they pull a foot up in their feathers and kind of show me, hey, if I want to fly away, that's one more step. I now have to put this foot down and launch myself off, as opposed to if he's standing with 2 feet down, it's a lot easier to just fly off. So, and rousing is what it's called, when they fluff all their feathers and just kind of reset them. He's done that a few times here today. So that just shows that, hey, the bird's comfortable. They're able to show us that they're not too worried about it. So jumping down and getting head first down in a water pan kind of leaves you open to whatever may happen. So little things like that just really show me that the bird's content and okay with life the way it is. But it's pretty cool watching them drink water. Any bird, watching them drink water is a cool little thing, how they stick that neck out. So
do you feed them any kind of supplements, or just regular old meat?
No, obviously heart and liver, anything dark red's going to be a lot better for them than just some old lead meat and stuff like that. But I've got a guy that I buy quail from. Pretty much check the meat freezer out in the shop, and when it starts running low, I'll call him and tell him how much money I got to put towards I need $500 worth, whatever. But he gives me a good deal on it, and then just whatever. I'll pick up roadkill if it's not flattened out or nasty looking. I keep rubber gloves in my truck, and my buddies will sometimes they'll get the guts to stop and grab stuff, or they'll tell me, hey, there's one over here on this road. You need to ride over there. You know?
I bet you get a lot of looks.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm used to it at this point, though. You don't do much in falconry without getting a lot of looks. So,
Dudley, when Jeremy pulled up, Mac, you need to listen to this. Pay attention when I'm talking to you now. So he pulls up, and he's got the first thing he's got that little bird in the box, and he's wants to find a safe place to put it. He's just like your wife would be with a really young baby. But I mean, there's that much attention. He's caring about, taking care of them just like you would a very young baby.
Yeah,
it's a lot of effort.
It's kind of sounds off the wall, but I follow Jeremy on Instagram. I also follow somebody who has an autistic sibling, and how they help each other and work together, and that relationship, kind of in a weird way, is similar to me.
Yeah. Definitely a caretaker.
Yeah, for sure.
Lenny, I had to tell you, hunting with you, you've got your phone in your pocket. You're constantly checking Onyx.
Yep. Very variable key features all in those things. It really is. From the compass mode to recent imagery, I mean, it really helps you understand where you are spatially, where you're headed, where a turkey is, where he was. It's a heck of a tool to use in the spring woods.
I didn't realize that they're updating these maps every couple of weeks.
Yeah, I'd have never known about that clear cut that you were hunting if I didn't have that recent imagery.
Well, and you could share some waypoints with me.
I could share some points with you. You're exactly right.
I mean, it has that capability.
It does have that sharing capability, which is great. You're wanting to show me where your goblin turkeys are.
Oh man, Onyx, it's a great app.
It's a great app.
So guys can go to onyxmaps.com/hunt and use code Mossy Oak to get 20% off.
There you go.
I'm a big fan of Onyx.
I am too.
Richie, I think you had a question there for a second.
All right, difference in training between Eagle and Ruben there, or if there is any difference?
Yeah, and the training all depends on the type of hunting that you're looking to do. Obviously, with a red tail, my only goal is to get the bird to follow me through the woods, and I'm trying to produce some type of slip, is what we call it, when you get a quarry to run out in front of it and give them an opportunity to catch it. With Ruben, my goal is just to get him calm enough and understanding, hey, look, I'm going to provide the slip. It's not done the same way as with the red tail walking through the woods, but I can hunt him walking around in Walmart parking lots. You got the little sparrows that fly out from under the carts and the trash cans, and pulling through industrial parks and seeing birds just feeding on the side of the road. So a lot different of getting them set up to go hunt, but all the training's basically the same. We're starting out getting them used to just human interaction, and I've got dogs, so I always have the dogs around. Getting them to realize that standing on our fist is a good thing. They learn that they get food while doing that. Then they learn that, hey, making the move from where I'm sitting to the falconer's hand equals food. So we work through that and just progress from going inside to outside and work up that distance that they're flying and the actual response time. Then you start tailoring it more towards what the bird's going to be doing hunting wise. Obviously with the red tail, we're not going to take it and learn how to sit on the steering wheel and look out the window, like we are the little micros that are going to ride around in the car. I have a golf cart that I ride around and get to some of the woods around our house and stuff. And my last red tail, she knew what we were doing. I could put her hood on her. I could drive the golf cart with two hands, and she'd sit on my knee, just right through my jeans. So they learn real quick what we're doing and how everything's going to happen through the process of hunting. So a lot of it, like I've said multiple times, is just repetition, just taking the bird and doing the same thing. And obviously the training that you're doing is going to be taking little baby steps towards the end goal. So, but pretty much it's all the same starting out until you get to the point where you start tailoring your training specifically for what type of hunting you're going to be doing.
So you mentioned earlier that after you apprentice, you become a general
Yes, sir.
falconer. So are you still there, or have you moved up, or what's the stages there?
You go through your 2 years of apprenticeship, and that's going to be 2 hunting seasons. So this sport, first and foremost, is hunting. That's the definition of falconry, is hunting with a trained bird of prey. So you go through 2 hunting seasons, and then your sponsor has to go ahead and request that you, or write off that you, they suggest that you are promoted to a general falconer. So I've been a general falconer for 2 years now. The next level is a master falconer. I think they should change the name of that, because you can never become a master of anything in this sport.
Good answer.
It would take multiple lifetimes to even experience all the different things in it, let alone master it, So master falconer, you've got 7 years experience, and I think all that does is allow you to file for other permits and have a couple more birds, I think. But unless you're doing some type of education program or abatement, which is keeping like pigeons off of resorts with birds of prey, things like that, you don't need a ton of birds. It takes so much time and effort for one bird. I couldn't imagine having more than the 2 I have right now, and they're used for 2 complete different things. I've killed starlings and squirrels in one day, and that's a long day of hunting. It's not like just going out and sitting in a deer stand. You're actually putting forth a lot of effort. And I said, during squirrel hunting, I'm the dog. So put in a lot of miles, lose some weight by the end of the season for sure.
Yeah. Wow, this has been interesting. Is there something that we should be asking you that some aspect of this that make sure you cover?
The majority of questions I get are going to be, like I said, the anklets and the hood, stuff like that. But do they come back to you? So yes, they'll come back to you if you call them. If they don't kill anything, if they catch something, they do not bring it back. We have to go to the bird. So I've had birds that have caught squirrels and fallen in creeks, and they'll swim, but they're not going to just catch something and come swim into the bank like a retriever, you know. But you got to go to them. So I heard a story of a guy who his bird flew off and caught a gull in the middle of the ocean, and sorry, you know, he started swimming out there and realized, like, hey, I'm not going to make it, and the bird wound up drowning, whatever the case may be. But we always try to set up the situation for something that we can control, you know. I know guys that have caught ducks and retention ponds and had to swim out there, just all kinds of stuff. So they don't bring it back. They will return to us. How do you get them to come back? We've trained them to come for food, and then after a certain amount of time, it's just trust. They don't care about food. They know that coming to us is safer than sitting out in the wild, and they enjoy their food and their nice place to sleep at night. So eventually it becomes a trust thing. Releasing them to the wild is something that I've enjoyed doing, because you know that you've put your mark on it and you've actually been able to do something for the environment. But you can keep the same bird forever. I flew 2 birds through my apprenticeship. There's been folks that have flown the same bird for 20 years. So it's all about what your individual goal is in falconry. I'd like to get as much experience with different species as possible, but some people find that one niche that they have, or the one quarry that they like to hunt, or whatever their style of hunting is, and kind of stick with that. So it's all dependent on, like I said earlier, not one person's falconry is the same as others. So
you said calling. How do you call them?
Call them back. So it's all about operant conditioning, just like training a dog. A lady wrote a book. It's called Don't Shoot the Dog, and it's about operant conditioning. It came from, she had a dolphin that she trained dolphins, and he would beach himself during the shows and kind of show off, and the crowd would applaud him. So she trained him to beach himself and never gave the command during the show. So the dolphin said, hey, she didn't tell me to do that. I guess I don't need to do it. And then at the end, she'd tell him to and let him get up there and get praise. So the bird learns what command means what. So a whistle is a recall. Also, if you hold your fist up, obviously you're calling them to you. So I can hold my fist up and the bird will come. I can do the whistle and the bird will come. I'll try to whistle. My lips are a little chapped, but and see, they're both turning and looking. So that's my call to come to my fist. If there's an emergency and I need the bird to come down now to the lure, I use a different whistle for the lure. And then always just the same cues that you're doing. If every time you're calling the bird, you're putting your fist up, they're going to see that fist come up and probably come without even hearing the whistle. But all about getting the right cues at the right time and always being consistent. So
would they come to another person?
Yeah. My fiance raised her hand up one day without a glove on and whistled, and the red tail bailed out of the tree, and she was freaking out. She's like, I didn't know that was going to happen. I said, that's what happens, you know? So they will come to other people. I know she was around more. I don't know if that's why they came to her. But with the little bird, I'll have kids raise up their hand, and if they can whistle, they do it. But the sight of we call them tidbits, so a little cut up piece of meat, that's what's going to be the main trigger. So you can throw one on the ground, a tidbit, and they'll dive off of whatever perch they're on and go grab the meat. So,
and these birds can live 15, 20, 25 years?
Yeah, I don't want to give an exact number because I don't know for sure, but I know in captivity somebody's had a red tail that was up to 35. So in the wild, probably 15, 20 years, yeah. Obviously, they're going to not have the ease of life that one does living in captivity, but at least 20 years, I'm sure, in the wild. So
yeah, wow.
So what would you suggest someone wanting to get into falconry? What do they need to do?
So first step, obviously, the internet is a wealth of knowledge now, but the internet is not always real truth. There's a lot of opinions on the internet. So here comes a hawk poop.
Somebody get a picture.
I told you it was a rough one. But on the internet, always look for a credible source of information. Looking up your state's hawking club or falconry club is going to be the first step. Get in touch with your local game and fish, request the quote unquote falconry packet from them. Once you get that information, finding most folks are on Facebook, so a Facebook group for local falconers. Get on there and search any questions you have because somebody's already asked it, Get on there and read all the answers and find people that are in your area and ask if you can tag along on hunts and just kind of come observe and see what all's happening. And you're never going to find somebody to sponsor you and oversee you if you're just talking about it, so actually being involved and going and getting dirty and beating on trees and trying to make squirrels move and show that you got what it takes and you're going to keep doing it on your own without somebody inviting you. I always have a standing invite for anybody that wants to go hunting. I tell them, hey, I'm hunting usually in the morning. I'm leaving when the sun comes up and you can show up at my house and go. And a lot of people say they want to go, but then never show up kind of deal, So when somebody's actually interested, it's obvious to a falconer because they've got that light in their eye and they're not sleeping. They're texting you at 11:30 at night saying, well, what about this, this, and this? So when you have somebody that's interested in it, people can tell. You're going to be hard pressed to find a sponsor if you're not really showing them that you care about what's going on and really trying to be involved. So.
Wow. You think you're going to be doing this the rest of your life?
No doubt, until I can't. There was a gentleman that he passed recently, but he had an all-terrain Studer. So he would go out, he'd take his falcon, let it fly up in the air. So I haven't hit on training large falcons. It's not something I've done personally. But the training of large falcons, it used to come from, you would use kites and helium balloons, put your food on it, teach the bird to fly up in the sky, catch the food, come down with it. Now we use drones. So you take the falcon out, they learn to fly up in the sky to grab the drone or grab the meat off of the drone. He trained his bird by doing that, and then they would get out and he had a flushing dog. So the dog would run and flush ducks off the pond. Bird would come down, hit the duck, and he'd ride his Studer over there and do everything just like he did when he could run. So there are ways to adapt to it and be able to practice in some shape or form. But big thing is just what you're able to do, because you have to give it all to the bird. I mean, you can't halfway do any of it. So
when your friends invite you to go on a duck hunting trip in Missouri or something like that,
showing up with the birds. I
was going to say, would you rather do your thing, or would you rather go on the hunting
I'll
trip?
go, but I'm showing up with the birds.
Okay.
I mean, I've got 4 dogs, and I'll have 2 dogs in each gunner kennel, and the red tail in her kennel in the back seat, and the kestrel riding shotgun. So just like when I got here, I'm like, all right, where can my birds go?
Right.
The dogs are all right. They can stay in the kennels right now, but where do I need to set all my bird stuff up?
So do you think being a dog trainer in your previous life has made you a better falconer?
I think it's helped me with being able to read animals. That's the big thing, and that's what a lot of this is. Like you need to be able to look at your bird sitting on a branch in a tree and tell what that bird's thinking and why are they looking this way. And if I walk off in the woods and my bird stays, it's not because my bird doesn't want to come to me. It's because there's a squirrel back there, and that's why my bird's back there. So being able to realize, like, okay, not get upset that the bird's not doing what you want it to, realize the bird's doing what you want it to. It's just doing it on its own time. So if you go over there and you walk around on that tree that the bird's looking at, chances are you're going to move a squirrel, and the bird's going to, I mean, they're smarter than we are. Vision is immaculate. I've had somebody describe their vision to me as if you were sitting on, or if the bird was sitting on a field goal on a football field and you leaned on the other field goal and opened up a newspaper, they could read the words. So that's kind of an idea that people can actually think about and know, kind of a representation of their eyesight. But they know what they're doing. They know why they're there. They know what's happening. Trusting your bird is a big thing, but you can't trust the bird until you can look at them and kind of tell what they're thinking. I gave an example earlier that Ruben, when we left the house, he was eating half of a starling breast, and we were driving and he stopped eating. So I stopped the truck to see if the driving was what was making him not want to eat. And he started eating after I got a rubber glove out. So he realized that the rubber glove normally equals food, and that was just another thing. He realized it, and he said, hey, time to eat, you know? So being able to see little things like that happen and kind of dissect it and know why something was done instead of just assuming, you know? So reading animals is the biggest thing.
Well, this has been super interesting.
Yeah, we'll definitely want to go hunt with you. We'll come with you.
Yeah,
we'll be there at daybreak.
The Furminator is the industry's most versatile piece of food plot equipment, allowing plotters to do every step of the process, working the soil, adding seed and soil supplements, and compacting, from start to finish with a single implement. It's hassle-free by design. Set it for the seed size and simply drive the tractor, and the Furminator does the rest. Check it out at thefurminator.com.
Hey guys, Dudley from GameKeepers here. I want to tell you about the all-new Gunner Dog Bowl. It's designed for home and built for travel. It's customizable, leak-resistant, light on weight, solid on durability, and rust-proof. Like other Gunner products, they're made in Nashville and designed for everywhere.
Nosler is known for their bullets, and now they're making suppressors. Nosler suppressors are made for hunting. Adding a Nosler suppressor to your rifle will make you a quieter, more accurate, and more effective hunter. Protect your hearing and disturb less game with a Nosler suppressor. The time to hunt quiet is now. Learn more at nosler.com.
Why don't we take this time? Why don't we do the trivia question real quick?
Today's trivia is brought to you by Sheffield Financial. Fuel your Gamekeeper projects with financing for power sports, outdoor power equipment, and trailers. Begin your next conservation adventure at SheffieldFinancial.com.
Looks like we got Lanny back. All right, Lanny. So come on.
I think Lanny's scared to walk in front of the birds.
Yeah. So, thank you, Sheffield. Jeremy, we have a sponsor for this little segment. You've got a chance to win a podcast T-shirt.
Okay.
You get this question right.
Oh, yeah.
And, back this week, instead of doing a drawing for someone that left a review, if you leave a review on our podcast, you got a chance to win a prize.
Okay. A good review.
But I heard about, we've got a friend named Ricky Flint. And Ricky told me about a father and son gamekeeper duo up in New York, and they love taking care of their property. It's a father and son. That's some cool stuff right there.
Nice, good
but
stuff.
They are growing some big deer. They're doing some cool things. So it's Rob Bishop and his son Isaac in New York.
New York City.
I just wanted to give them a shout out. They're going to win. We're going to let them win the prize today.
That's great. Somebody out of the Southeast. How about
look
that?
at that.
New York.
New York City.
Rob Bishop. Isaac, we appreciate you helping your dad.
Thanks for listening.
That's some good stuff.
No doubt about it.
Mac, what are they winning?
They're winning a Duke trap.
Ooh.
A set of Duke dog-proof traps.
Duke dog-proof
Excellent.
traps.
Yeah.
Handy. Need to be trapping all you can right now.
There's traps are I'm looking at Jeremy. We've got a lot of guys that trap raccoons.
Yes, sir.
You know, it's a big problem, but yeah, those Duke dog proofs are the way to go. All right, Mac, what you got?
All right,
Who's answering the question?
Jeremy.
All right. Go,
Yeah,
Jeremy.
the guest.
Or Ruben or Eagle
Yeah.
can answer as well.
If I get it wrong, it was a bird.
You'll have a good shot at this one. All right, so what two NFL football teams have raptors as their mascots?
So the Eagles, number one. That was an easy one.
Lanny can
I can help you.
Help me.
Dirty Birds.
Okay, yeah. Falcons. I didn't even think about that.
Yay!
I don't know if I'm more shocked that you didn't know or that Lanny
You're
didn't
right.
know.
I knew a football question.
yeah.
I ought to get a podcast T-shirt for that.
That's true.
Oh, yeah, Seahawks. Ospreys.
Oh yeah, the Seahawks.
Add another one.
We don't do Georgia where I'm from. We steer clear of Georgia.
Must be the Bulldogs.
Lord have mercy. So there's three
It's
teams.
all the Bulldogs. Yep.
Yeah, Mac, you know what? I just thought there was one. Mac caught that there were two and adjusted the question.
And then Rob chimed in with numero 3.
How
Is there
about
such
that?
thing as a Seahawk? Is a Seahawk? I mean, I know a Falcon's real.
I'd say
thing.
it was an Osprey.
Yeah, that
An
would be.
Osprey. Now they would be a lot cooler if they were the Seattle Ospreys.
Yeah.
Maybe you should call over there and see if you can get them changed.
I don't have time for that. So you win a T-shirt. That's
I'll
awesome.
take
Wow.
it. Yeah, share it, but I'll take it.
So, looking around, what else? Is there anything else we need to be asking?
Lanny, did you come up with anything while you were gone?
And unfortunately, I've been like jamming on a spreadsheet, so I haven't got my.
So, if you took the little leg things off of Ruben and I whistled, he'd land on my finger over here?
Possibly. Right now, with everything going on, he'd probably just sit there, go and land on top of a antler and try to get a perch. But their instinct's always going to kick in, and even though he was raised by humans, he's still a bird. He can still fly, and the highest point in the room is always the safest. Number one, they can see everything, and number two, a lot of stuff can't reach it.
Yeah.
So most likely he'd be perched up here on top of an antler or sitting on top of that pintail's head, one of the two. So.
He's studied that.
He's
pintail
eyeing
pretty
it, huh?
hard.
Yeah, I would be too.
See, he may be looking at the reflection of that red LED bouncing off of that coffee mug too, because it looks like a little piece of food. So red fingernail polish, he'll tear up a woman's finger with some red fingernail polish on. Looks like a piece of meat. But yeah, there's a lot of weird little things that you'll notice. I mean, some falconers birds, you can't wear red around them, can't wear sunglasses. They'll see the reflection in the sunglasses and go crazy. So I've been picking it up and trying it, drinking coffee. I've been lucky to have birds that they were pretty even keeled, didn't really have any weird little things they didn't like. So
I guess they all have different personalities.
Yep, they're all different, just like we are. So.
Well, we sure appreciate you driving down here with your birds. It's just an amazing thing to see how calm they are.
It is. It's an amazing. We're infatuated with birds. Obviously, we all believe here there's a connection to birds and heaven. I guess is the best way to
kind of what we hit on earlier.
Oh, well, I missed that.
No, keep saying it because it's true.
Yeah, but it is true. So they're very infatuating, all of them.
I think we're all just kind of in awe sitting here.
I think I found out what I want to do in my later years.
Yep.
Well,
would
you take me on as an apprentice?
Definitely.
All right, I'm in.
Move to Alabama. Move to Alabama. That's the only kicker.
I'm just real impressed with his love of these birds. I mean, he's, I got to watch him by himself taking care of them, and I'm telling you,
it takes a special person.
It does.
I mean, I know I'm not cut out for it.
And then his experience as an animal trainer, I can honestly see like. I've been around houndsmen that their team, that's their crew, and your crew has wings.
Exactly.
That's his Air Force.
Yeah, that's right. It's cool. It really is.
Well, we always talk about what did we learn. I didn't know that 80% of them perished in that first year.
Yep, that's a big thing, and most people don't realize that. And then when you think about it, it's like, well. They do a lot of sketchy stuff, hunting on the side of the road.
Oh, yeah.
Hunting through backyards and flying into windows and things like that. And then obviously I've mentioned the rodenticide, but the majority of it, I mean, it's all human caused, I mean, we're invasive to all of them, obviously.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
they were here first.
Yep. Exactly.
So many things we do have changed things for them.
Really have.
Which thankfully there's organizations that are on the up and up about it and doing things about it and trying to help out. So it's nice when you've got places and people like that really do care. So
I know you mentioned the rodenticide. That's been a big deal to me recently. We used to store all of our grain, like deer feed and stuff at the shop. And then you started getting mice and rats in your tractor, and then so we always, if we use it, we keep all that separate.
Yep.
So you don't have a reason to put rodenticide out.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
Just little things you can do, but I mean, if you're putting that at your land, at your shop, then you're potentially harming the birds in your area.
Yep, and hawks and snakes. I mean, people don't like snakes, but they're the best rodenticide there is. I mean, that's just hawks are going to pick them up like crazy. They got to eat them to survive, and same thing with snakes.
Everybody's got to eat.
For sure.
Me.
Wow, that kestrel, does he nest in a cavity?
They're going to when they nest, yeah. The imprint that I caught, which an imprint, the main name for that is because the bird's imprinting on you. You're taking a eyes is what we call it when they come out of the nest, and training it. So the imprint that I got, he came out of the soffit of an old barn. So the parents were flying back through a hole in the soffit. They were nesting in there. Kestrel nest boxes are pretty popular. So there's the American Kestrel Association or Foundation, whatever it is, put out a kind of dimensions on them. So it's a big kind of hobby deal. So something great to do with your kids. Certain time in the spring when you go and put them up, put a little bit of nesting material in there, but just look like a regular birdhouse. Put them up a certain height where you're kind of preventing predators from getting in there as much as you can. But doing stuff like that and just helping them out. But they're going to go in a cavity. Most of your red tails and all your other hawks are going to make a nest in a tree. And your falcons, larger than kestrels, are going to be nesting on cliff edges and stuff like that. So when folks are looking for nest sites out west, they'll fly over with helicopters and kind of look for scat and kind of just, I mean, we call it mutes is what it's called in the falconry world, or with birds of prey. Look for mutes coming off the side of the cliff face, be able to locate nest, but they're hooking up and rappelling off the side of cliffs and going and getting babies out. We're only allowed to take, if there's 3 birds in there, we have to leave 1. So if there's 2, you can take 1. If there's 4, you can take 3. Obviously, we're not taking them. They're going to falconers, 1 bird per falconer, because it's a lot of responsibility to raise an eyas up. But we have to leave 1 bird in there so the parents can come back and continue to raise it. They really won't even notice the difference. Yeah. The males are going to be obviously smaller than the females from the nest all the way up through growing up. So you can kind of tell the difference usually depending on how old they are when you're at the nest. But a lot of work goes into finding those nests too. These are guys that are serious about it. They've been watching these birds probably build the nest, go and watch the nest and kind of get up there and see what you're looking at. And there's times where you put a ton of effort into finding a nest and get there to find 1 eyas in there, and you're like, hey, look, I mean, it's tough, you know, I've done all the work, but we can't put these parents in a situation where they think that their nest has been raided, you know, so.
Well, Jeremy, how can folks follow you on social media?
Jones Falconry is everything from TikTok all the way to YouTube. I made my Instagram just out of doing it for myself, and a buddy of mine was like, man, you need to make a YouTube. And I was like, okay. So I started posting stuff on YouTube, kind of blew up from there. But been a lot of sharing of my videos, and people do voiceovers, and kind of there's somebody on Facebook that just keeps resharing them and acting like they're their videos. So like all my friends and all these people on social media are getting on there and reporting it and commenting and all this stuff. But Jones Falconry, I've got a lot of different types of videos that I'm going to try to do here in the future as far as raising and training different types of birds and answering a lot of just general questions. Doing stuff like this is awesome because somebody can sit down and get a wealth of knowledge in a little bit of time. So it's nice to be able to come on here and do a little more education for the general public and people who have a lot of the same questions that you guys have had. So it's going to help them out getting some definite answers and kind of getting a little better grasp on it. But if you are interested in falconry, go to your local Game and Fish statewide and kind of figure out somebody that's close to you in your area. Always want to tag along. If you find a baby bird, make sure that you leave it alone unless you can tell that it's obviously injured and needs some type of human interaction, especially around this time of year. We're starting June. This is when all your babies are going to be getting out of the nest and kind of playing around. So that's a big deal. The rodenticide thing, I mean, I know we hit on that like crazy, but that's the biggest problem we have right now with raptor conservation. But if you're interested, we'd love to have you. There's not many of us, so we're a pretty tight-knit community. You find somebody and let them know you're interested, and most likely they're going to treat you like one of our own and have you out and answer any questions you may have. But anybody can reach out to me with any questions or anything like that on social media or email, it's just jonesfalconry@gmail.com. So.
Awesome.
This has been
This is a
It's
treat.
cool
Yeah.
now.
and he's a falconer, not a falconer.
I'm working on it.
See, you're thinking back to the days when you were a mouseketeer.
I thought it was auctioneer.
Yeah, that's what.
I don't think I was in the Mickey Mouse Club.
Jeremy, thank you so much for traveling over, and
Thank
we
y'all
look
for
forward.
having
We're
me.
going to do a
Thanks for being
television show with
Yeah,
you.
yeah,
Oh,
for
I
sure.
can't wait to see some of that.
Yeah,
That's
we're
gonna
going to
be
do
great.
good. Mac, you got another question?
I mean, if he's got a wedding registry set up, you could probably get some gifts off of the podcast.
man,
man.
We got to get that
plug.
going.
Yeah. So who are you marrying?
So I've got a girl that I met back home. She's a good one. Her family's actually in the same industry as you guys, so you got some mutual friends with
All
her
right.
family.
We got to
so
be good folks.
Yeah,
we'll be having to get together and do something with all them here soon. So
well, that's awesome.
Well, congratulations.
Well, yeah, he's kind of referring to some of the Summit Tree Stand
Yes, sir.
family.
That's
And,
right.
and
That's
boy,
right.
what great stands.
Yeah.
I mean, I've hunted out of a Summit for as long as I can remember.
Still hunting out of mine.
Yeah, my first climber was a
Yeah,
Summit, and
yeah.
I'm still hunting out
Still
of a
hunting out
Summit.
of them.
I'm telling you, Mr. Waller was a legend.
He was quite a character.
Yeah,
He was
he
awesome.
was. So you're marrying in a good family.
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And,
Definitely.
that's awesome. We got anything else we got to touch base on? Look, really thanks again for bringing the animals.
Very intriguing, no doubt about it.
Thank y'all for having me. I relish the opportunity. Eagle left a piece of her on the floor here, so this
It's on Toxie's
this
side.
poop stain is not going to come up. So y'all will remember me every time you walk
Trust
in
me,
here.
there's
so-
lots of stains around here.
Oh my goodness. All right, guys. Well, looking around the room, why don't you say goodbye, Dudley?
Goodbye, Dudley.
Get us out of here, Richie.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of the Gamekeeper Podcast, and be sure to tune in again. Subscribe to Gamekeeper Farming for Wildlife magazine, and don't miss the Mossy Oak Properties Fistful of Dirt podcast with my good buddy, Ronnie Cuz Strickland.